So in this lesson, what we're looking at is we're looking at writing and naming now covalent bonds. So before we've looked at ionic bonds, where we have a bond occurring between a metal and a non-metal. So it's going to be the left side of our periodic table and our right side. So on this one, we're now looking at our covalent bonds. And with our covalent bonds, it happens between two non-metals. These are actually a little bit easier to write. The one thing that you will need to reference to are going to be the prefixes that you find on your polyatomic sheet. So your prefixes, if you notice here, they range from mono being 1, di is tri is 3, tetra is 4, so on and so forth. So what these prefixes represent, they represent the number of atoms that we're going to see in a covalent bond. So for my first part, if we go down to the first example, here, if we're looking, my second element, we would change the ending of it to "ide." So if I'm looking at right here, I have carbon dioxide, so basically it would represent CO2. If you notice, mono is never used on your first element name. So let's go down and let's look at the examples below. So if I have N2O, the first thing I want to do is realize it's a covalent bond. And because it's covalent, I can then name it as I see it. So my first element here is nitrogen. So I write nitrogen. And then I'm going to add di in the front. And then my last one being that I have one atom of oxygen, I have to use mono on my last one, and I would write it as monooxide. So it's dinitrogen monooxide. If I have S2F10, my S is obviously sulfur. Then I add the prefix di in the front, and then fluorine would become fluoride. But if I look at my sheet from above, my prefix that represents 10 is deca. So it's written as disulfur deca, and my ending always on my last one is always going to be changed to "ide", so it's decafluoride. Again, if you see something such as, let's say, as in CO, this is obviously, my first one here is carbon, but being that I only have one, I do not use the prefix mono, and I have one oxygen, but you always must use the prefix mono only on the second atom. Now, to go backwards, you just simply look at the prefixes and the elements that are listed to name them. So the first thing I always like to do is go through and just highlight, obviously, or underline the prefixes. So in terms of writing my chemical formula, I know oxygen, and because it has no prefix in the front, it's just going to be my symbol O. But on my second one here, I have di. My symbol is going to be Cl for chlorine, and if I look on my prefix chart, di is 2, so it's OCl2. Xenon obviously has no prefix, so it's just my symbol EX, and then it's hexafluoride. So fluoride I know is F, and how many F's do we have? So if it's hexa, and if I go back up to my list and I refer to my chart and I look at hexa, I know hexa is going to be 6, so then I can add XEF6 as my chemical formula. So now you need to complete the practice worksheet, just the covalent bond section in the 4.2 packet, which will be for homework and needs to be turned in tomorrow at the beginning of class. Okay? So you need to work through those problems. Good luck!